Welcome back to the show. Hope you were enjoying the music. We had a bunch of stuff from V. Ross and just all over KJ52. Hope you guys are enjoying the music. I hope you are enjoying the Seriously Serious show with our lovely guest today. But we also have another guest. People are like, who's this Robert guy? What is this? So you get the chance to meet him right now. Robert Cook, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Like I said, trying to stay warm. A little cold out.
Yeah. We were talking a little bit earlier. We're from Fort Wayne, and you're from Pennsylvania, and it is now hit past I think it's now not just entered fall, it's starting to get close to winter weather.
This is true, especially in the morning, like 26 degrees out.
That's just not healthy. It's just not healthy at all. We got to contact a couple days ago, and I know our audience is like, who is this guy? I want you to just share sort of a little bit about your life, what you've been up to, and we'll dig a little bit into that.
Awesome. Well, I run 252 Underground Youth Ministry. It's an outreach for kids, and it really stems from my youth growing up. If you would have told me 20 years ago I'd be doing what I'm doing today, I'd be like, no way. And here we are 20 years later, and when I talk to kids and tell them how I was growing up, they don't even believe me. They think I'm making it up, because I unfortunately had a pretty rough childhood, very rough teenage years, and quite a few run-ins with the police. And now here I am trying to reach out to the kids that were just like me, and it's been exciting.
No, that's awesome, because like the kids that you were talking about and the kids that were shown, like, because I went to your website doing all that kind of stuff, it seemed like the kids that had been sort of, I'm not trying to say, were almost cast aside. Like they were just like, people didn't really like love them or care for them. Like, is that the way that you felt when you were growing up? And then how do you love these kids that have not felt that way? Or can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, the kids we deal with, I usually say they're the kids on the fringes of society. That churches, although churches want to reach out to these kids, they really don't know how, because it's hard to bring these guys into church the way they act when they're not really familiar with church or anything. And when I was growing up, I definitely felt, no connection to people. My dad was, unfortunately, an alcoholic. He was a drug addict. He was abusive, and he left when I was 7 years old. Didn't really have a lot of influence in my life after that. He ended up dying at the age of 42 of a heart attack. My brothers had at times moved in with him, and he kind of got them involved in drugs. And unfortunately, my 42-year-old brother had just killed himself this past January. Just a lot of rough stuff in my life. And when I was a teenager, I lived in a town with 33 churches, and not one of them reached out to me. But I, dressed all in black and had my run-ins with the police, and the church people would say, tell their kids, stay away from him. So nobody was really telling me about Jesus. They were just saying, stay away from me. And then when my life turned around when I was 28, I started helping in a church, and I was like, I just feel God wants me to go back and get these kids that nobody cared about really, or what weren't showing that they cared, and started this ministry out of my house. And within 3 months, we had over 100 kids coming out from the streets on Friday night to my house. It was so funny because my landlord thought I was a drug dealer because I had so many young people showing up at my house. And so we were like, okay, it's time to rent a building. And we rented a building in the center of our town, and we funded it ourselves, me and my wife, and we outgrew that building after 5 years, and with hundreds and hundreds of kids coming out almost every single night. It just really grew. Awesome.
That is awesome. How did, at 28, how did you find this God or this Jesus that you're talking about? What was the transition in your life?
It's a true story, but absolutely insane. My mother was 50 years old. She had a heart attack. She was in the hospital, and me and my brothers went out to visit her. She was sitting up in bed talking to us like nothing happened. They told us we had to leave for an hour so they could clean her up and everything. We went back exactly 1 hour later, and we could not get into the room. There were so many machines around her. The doctor said there's a helicopter on the way to fly your mother to Philadelphia to Hahnemann Hospital. She's not going to make it through the night. We finally got into the room, and she was completely like white, scared. She was crying. She didn't want to die. And I hadn't been to church since I was 16 years old, but I knew my mom was going to church. So I quick ran to the waiting area and called her church, and I said, hey, my mom's dying. She's not going to make it through the night. Can you please pray for her? And the woman said, we'll put her on the prayer chain. I didn't even know what a prayer chain was, but it sounded pretty good. And so when I hung up the phone, I stayed in the room for a minute. I was like, God, if you let my mom live, I'll serve you the rest of my life. And the helicopter flew my mom to the hospital in a major snowstorm. It took me and my brothers 2.5 hours to drive to Philadelphia in this snowstorm, and it's normally a 40-minute ride. And when we got there, we got to the floor my mom was on. We got off the elevator, and the nurse was at the nurse's station, and me and my brothers, 3 of them, said, hey, what room is Carol Cook in? And she was like, are you related? And we're like, we're her sons. Where's she at? And she said, have you heard the news? And my stomach dropped. I thought they were going to tell me that she had died. And it was quite the opposite. She said, we can't find anything wrong with her. It's a miracle. And we went into the room, and my mom was sitting up in bed saying, I told you not to drive down here in a snowstorm. And we released her 2 days later. And then I got scared because I'm like, if I don't serve God, he's going to kill my mother. That's what I thought. And so I'm like, he probably wants me to read the Bible. He probably wants me to go to church. And so I started doing these things out of obligation. But as I was reading the Bible, something happened to me, and it changed my life completely. That's much what happened.
That is just awesome, awesome, awesome. Can you sort of talk a little bit about the zombie on your shirt? What's that about? And we were sort of talking about what you talked about last Sunday. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Well, I always try to find things that are culturally relevant to the young people. And I know right now Walking Dead is huge. Everywhere you go, there's zombie books, shirts, everything. And so I was reading in Revelation chapter 3, Jesus says, I know your deeds. And you have a reputation for being alive, but you were dead. And I was like, wow, that's like zombies, And I started, just really investigating, about zombies and looking up the definition of them. It's the body of a dead person, automaton going through the motions, insatiable desire for things of the flesh. And I was like, wow, you could really correlate this into a message about the church, because there's a lot of people who are Christians in name, and they go to church on Sunday, and they clock in. I always say they find their name, they clock in, they put their hour, and then they go back in the world and they live their life for a week, and there's no fruit, there's nothing, you wouldn't even know they were a Christian. Then they go back to church, and it's like it's a dead person, somebody who is acting like they're alive, but they're really dead. And so that's, I spoke at a church this past Sunday with that message, and I had a lot of people coming up afterwards saying, wow, I'm a church zombie. When you're not reflecting the life of Christ, you're a zombie, and Jesus said about the Pharisees, he said, on the outside, they look good, but on the inside, they're zombies. They're dead man's bones, and so the people that have really heard the message have really connected with it, and it was pretty successful. And so I had these shirts printed that says Zombie Church with Revelation 3 on it, and when I wear it out, so many people are like, Zombie Church, where's that church at? And it just opens the door to talk about what the church should really be doing, what our job is, so it was pretty exciting.
I am just excited because it's just in these few minutes, it's been crazy to see where you've been to how you made this promise with God, and this whole miraculous story with your mom, and just this crazy story to God working until now. You're now to this place where you're like, I don't want to live in this zombie church or where we check in. It's just really cool to see how you have what people think drug deals in your house because you're just loving on kids so much. That's just so cool to be a part of. And then you also are writing this, you just wrote this book, and that comes out how do you, when you're in the middle of this, and before we get to the book, how is it when you feel like you're just, where you're supposed to be with God? I just want to know, because you don't want to accept the norm. You want to love these other people, and you're loving these people. What does it feel like to be where God wants you to be?
Well, it definitely feels awesome because there's a lot of times back in the day when God would, I felt God was speaking to me, and I didn't listen. I didn't do the things. And when I was speaking this weekend, I was talking about, I have several boys. I have a 16-year-old. Well, he just turned 17 yesterday. And I have a 9-year-old. And when I asked my 16-year-old to do something, he says, okay. And then my wife does it. And when I ask my 9-year-old to do something, he does it. And I'm like, after asking my 16-year-old son over and over to do things, and he never does it, and I ask my 9-year-old to do things, and he does it. Who do you think when I need something done, I'm going to go to? My now 17-year-old or my 9-year-old? And obviously, yeah, I'm going to go to my 9-year-old if I need something done. If I need the dog to be taken out so he doesn't go to the bathroom on the floor, I know not to ask my other son because I'm going to have to clean up the mess.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if God is speaking to you and telling you to do something and you don't do it, he eventually stops talking to you. He doesn't ask you to do anything anymore. He goes to someone else who is going to do what he needs to have done. And I said, God in the Bible, he never did anything. Okay. He didn't do, he did through. All these awesome stories that we read about in the Bible, the miracles, God always used someone. He needs our hands, our feet. And so many times we talk about doing that, but then we don't follow through. And I didn't want to be one of those people that just talked about it all the time. I wanted to live through example. And now, there's so many miraculous things that happen on a daily basis that I was talking to someone about 2 months ago, and he said, I wish I lived back in Bible times when God was really moving. And I'm like, are you serious? God's moving today. I see so many crazy things where we're able to help people, a family, their house burned down, and within 9 days we had them living in a new house, fully furnished. We called it Extreme Home Makeover God Edition, and it was the teens from my youth ministry and a couple college-age guys that were coming out, and we made the front page of the paper 2 times in a week with a motley crew of kids, painted a house, got all the appliances, everything, and it was just, I see God working on a daily basis,
That's just,
so it's definitely fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome stuff. I love that. Love that. Can you talk to a little bit about this book and where people can find this book too?
Absolutely. The book is called Regenerate. Let's see if you can see it. Can you see that?
Yep. 8 weeks, 8 lessons, 8 truths.
That's correct. And it's a devotional for really any, I have older people reading it, but it was written for teens based on messages that I was given over the last 10 years doing this youth ministry. Most devotionals that come out are 325 pages or 365 pages, one a day, big book, and then the kids will read a couple, if any, and then they never go back to it. The 8 weeks is designed to where it's just a few minutes a day. It's something that it's small, bite-sized pieces. Literally, it's a little tiny paper rack. They can fold it up like that, nice. Stick it in your back pocket, and it hits them with the truth. I know when I was first going to church when I was young, before I left church, they would tell me, doing drugs is bad. It's no good. Drinking is bad and all that stuff. But then I would see these commercials on TV where people, they had girls in bikinis and guys with no shirts on jumping around playing volleyball on the beach, smoking cigarettes and drinking beer. Every commercial looked like it was having a great time. And so my book it deals with, these truths. It says, true or false, doing drugs is fun. And most people want to tell you that it's not fun. But then when a kid smokes marijuana or something, he's laughing, joking, having a good time, and they're eating Doritos. I'm like, when I smoked marijuana when I was 15 years old, I'm like, wow, those adults lied to me. This is fun.
Uh-huh.
But the problem is that it's fun for a minute, but the consequence and how it ruins your life and everything. And I'm like, man, I wish they would have said it's going to seem like fun, but this is where your life will lead you if you do those things. And so the book, I don't sugarcoat anything. I tell it like it is, and it's been getting really great reviews on Amazon. Youth pastors have been contacting me through email saying that they're using my book in their youth groups as devotionals, as lessons. And it was in the top 104 categories this past weekend on Amazon. And so that's where you can go, is go to Amazon and just search Regenerate, and you can get the book. It's right now, I think it's $6 and some change. And Christmas is coming up, so if you have a teen in your life, it's a great gift that with impact in their life changing.
That's awesome. So Regenerate with the number 8, or they can look up your name at Amazon. Am I correct?
Yeah, well, they might need to type in Regenerate as well, because there's a lot of Robert Cooks I found out, and some very famous ones. So, but yeah, Regenerate. I think I'll hold it up, and that's the way it's spelled. Regenerate.
Perfect. Now, is there any way other people can catch what you're doing? Do you have a website or any place that you want to send people your way?
Absolutely. I have a personal author site, which is robcookunderground.com. And then I also have the youth ministry site, which is 252underground.com. That's the name of our youth ministry, 252 Underground. And that's based off of Luke 252. But most teens have a preconceived notion of church, and so if I told them it was a church thing, they might not come out. But when we say, hey, come on out to 252 Underground, there's free food, free games, everything, they come out, they have a great time, and then they find out that we're a faith-based thing. But by then we're all friends and everything, and we're like normal people, not nuts to them. And so it's 252underground.com, and if you go to my Rob Cook Underground, you can have links to my blog, regenerated.com. And there's, I post a lot of things. There's a zombie church message up there as well, and ways to evangelize, 10 simple steps to evangelize in your community, things like that.
Cool. I just want to thank you personally, and I want to thank you from the Seriously Serious Show as a whole for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. And what is going to be awesome, and I'm talking to you, audience, he's going to be joining us once a month, and we're going to be talking about different topics, different stuff that's been going on, and you can continue to ask him questions. We have the public chat, so you get to ask him questions, deal with different kinds of stuff, so we get a chance to meet together for a little bit more time. So it'd be great for you to buy that book, $6 and some change. Check it out. So maybe if you do have questions, you can talk to him. We're going to be doing this a monthly thing, so I'm really, really excited. Thank you again so much for taking time to join with us today.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Hey, no problem. Hey, we're going to be playing some more music here, and then we got the final game here against a little competition. See who's the best here from Remedy Live, where we chat, listen, love.